Hi, everybody. Welcome to Courageously You with Martha. I am Martha Davis Alexander, and I will be your host for the next 40 minutes or so. I welcome you to Going Solo Network Radio, TV, and Podcast. This is WGSN-DB, the #1 internet talk network on the air. And we are so pleased that you are here. Little bit about me. I'm a recovering attorney. I am a certified life, business, and money coach. And I love talking, and I used to be a family law attorney. Love talking all things people. And I love talking to all my friends and all my people and share them with you. So I have a special guest for you today. I have my dear friend, Jill McCarthy. She is a women's retreat organizer. She is a podcast host, and she is a speaker. Welcome, Jill. I'm still going to introduce you and say more about you, but welcome to the show.
Hi, Martha. It's glad to be here. We've had fun talking on my show. Can't wait for this one.
Yay, me too. So, Jill, better known as the Geeky Grandma, she is a mother to 4 adult sons and a grandmother to 6 grandchildren. She's been married for 44 years as of this month. That is something to say in today's world, man. Congratulations.
Thank you.
She was an elementary teacher for 25 years. She's retired now from that, and she spends her time on all of her passions of encouraging women, leading retreats, and doing digital artwork. She's so fascinating. It's so fun. So we're going to be talking today about finding her voice, how she reclaimed her voice, reclaiming her voice. And that's about finding healing, reclaiming her voice, which has been a lifelong journey for Jill, starting in coming home from kindergarten with the word shy stamped on her report card. That's horrid.
Wow, I couldn't even read.
Yeah, right? Wow. So now she's spent over 50 years of personal development and learning. She's come to realize that she's not shy, and she really isn't, people. She is not shy. She's very observant, and she chooses not to talk until she's surveyed the environment thoroughly and knows what she wants to say. So when she talks, it's time to listen, right? I have a friend who does that as well, and another friend, and it is just amazing because I just talk. That's what I do. So her voice reclamation process has included mental, emotional, and even physical elements. She has also used elements, from her educational training to assist in her own healing. And now she shares her voice with other women in podcasts. Wow. Mental, emotional, and physical elements.
Absolutely.
Tell us about reclaiming your voice, Jill.
Okay. And like I said, it was a real long process. And for me to come to the level of healing that I'm at right now, it really it's been a team effort with a lot of different resources along the way. Like I said, that I was labeled shy as my final kindergarten report card. That's what it said. And that I let that brand me for a lot of years, but through my personal development training, I said there's a lot of reasons why people might be quieter. It might be personality, could be HSP. There are a lot of things out there. And the more I've learned about who I am, I've learned that I am somebody who just likes to watch the situation. I remember in college, we had a dorm room, and we were all off the center suite, and all the girls were in for some big discussion one night, and I'm sitting there and I'm listening, and everybody has talked except me. And after listening to all of them, in one sentence, I summed up what they all said, gave a conclusion, and even put a little touch of humor in there. It could
Nice.
it's just the way my brain and body is organized, and I'm so busy looking at this one or watching the facial motions over here that I have that ability to pull them all together. And when I speak, it's like the old E.F. Hutton commercial on TV. When E.F. Hutton speaks, you better listen. So
Yeah, I love that, because what it sounds like is you're truly present and listening to everybody else and not just trying to figure out what you want to say, right?
yeah, a lot of us, especially in my early shy years, I would practice almost for weeks ahead of time what I saw a situation was going to be, that I'd need the right words to say. And that's mentally exhausting. And I've learned better to this it's like a gift. It just all comes together. And even my elementary school days for myself, I spent 4 years in a shell, and then when you come out the other side of it, you look like the weirdo. Well, why hasn't she talked? But eventually I came out of the shell. Eventually I started to make my own way and my own marks. And by the time I got to senior in high school, I won the largest award and the most number of awards at graduation. Not too bad for a shy shell. So
Not too bad for a shy shell. So how did you get out of that shy shell?
I had different people along the way that kind of loved me out of that shell. I went into the shell at third grade, and my fourth grade teacher, who happens to still be alive, um, she just took time, one-on-one time with me. She had a special little toy on her desk that she only let me play with. She knew it was hard for me to speak up, and that at that time I had literally pulled in when everybody else started going over to other people's houses. Instead of me doing that, I just kind of hid and pulled in instead. And there's reasons for it, and I've learned them over a whole lot of years in therapy. But just being recognized as an individual, and as I've gone along, I've heard the phrase being seen and heard. And at special marker points in my life, I've had several women, and many of them mentors, who did take time to see me, who did take time to listen to me. And later on, I learned that I need that tactile, that touch, and that's that educational piece that I added in, and that made the difference.
So tell me steps. So if there's someone in our audience, right, who is in a shell and who's shy and just isn't certain, or they have a kid that's shy and they're worried about him, do you have any advice for how to help someone? Or
Yeah, I know for my own case, my self-esteem was literally down the toilet. And I think of a little drawstring bag where I'd do something trying to build that self esteem because I knew I didn't have it, but it was like somebody cut out the bottom of it. And anything I put in just went through. I think as a mother and as a teacher, the best thing is to love them right where they are, because you're not going to take them further till you recognize where they are, and to tell them they're okay right where they are, and that, like flowers, each one of us has our own germination time, and we grow at different points in time. And some of the late bloomers I found, I was a late bloomer, and I have a child who's a late bloomer. What happens is they have so many gifts inside that it takes time till they all ripen at one time. When they finally all ripen, there's a lot of things going on in the world. It may look like they're behind the rest of them, but they just have so much to give that it just takes time for it all to grow.
that's
And
beautiful. That is a beautiful description. And I love the advice of of just meet them where they are. They're okay, right? You don't
yeah,
have to worry about whether they're going to other friends' houses. You don't have to worry about any of that or asking them any of that. just be there for them and support them and give them the love and
right. If they have a story to tell, be ready to listen. And it might be tough for them to even come out to you, but um as an elementary teacher, I taught second grade forever. If I had somebody that could only do what a kindergartner could do with words, they as much as I could be the most tremendous teacher in the world, but if they aren't ready for it, they aren't ready for it. So I had to meet them where they were and give them the skills that they needed. Yeah, they're kind of hearing the rest of them get the second grade material, but I brought them up. So maybe I brought them up to a first grade at the end of the year. I just took them and gave them what they needed, and it's respecting who they are as a person.
I love that. Respecting who they are as a person is a rider downer. That's so important, to be respected as a person.
Yeah.
So how else did you reclaim your voice?
Well, one of the things is like I said, I've been in therapy forever, and my most recent therapist is an EMDR specialist, and
What's EMDR?
It's eye desensitization, and movement is the last one.
Okay.
They're trying to. It has to do with like REM sleep. Your eyes are going at a certain rate, and there's several things to it. And I had been with my middle therapist, and I wasn't getting anywhere. And she brought in this list of words to me one day, and they were all words that had to do with touch. And sometimes when we're telling a story in therapy about something we've been through, we use different descriptor words. And these descriptor words were all forms of touching something, how it touched your life. And I can't think of more off the top of my head at this second, but they fit me. And as my years as a teacher, I know people can be a visual learner, an auditory learner, or a tactile learner. And I happen to be, I'm very visual, but my key one is the tactile part. And I switched to this therapist, and she works with mind body therapy. And there are things in our life where we experience something, and especially as a shy or a quiet person, if you don't have that gumption to speak it out, I stuffed it in my body.
You stored it. Yeah.
I stored it. Stored it in my muscles, in my nerves, and especially my throat. And I stuffed it so hard in there for so long, it created a lot of physical distress. So I was going to a chiropractor, and the chiropractor I go to now is a network chiropractor. And instead of moving the bones, he helps the nerves to talk to each other. And when the nerves can talk, then the bones release and relax into where they belong. And
interesting.
It's a whole different thing. And what I would do, these two people happen to be both about an hour away from where I am, and I would go to the therapy session, and then like an hour later I would go to the chiropractic. So I would loosen the idea up in therapy and then go physically unloosen it. So I was very definitely mind and body, and that was working well. But until I realized my teacher part of being a kinesthetic learner, then we added more touch into what I was doing. And finally, my body started to heal. I started to be able to relax it. I relaxed. This arm was in such horrible shape. At one point, I couldn't use it for 2 years. I'm a right-handed. Can you imagine 2 years in elementary school teaching with my left hand?
Wow.
That's pretty intense muscles tightening in there.
That's pretty intense. So what is that touch element that you used with that?
Well, what this is going to sound a little crazy, but one
I
thing is,
love crazy, Jill.
you love crazy. One thing that really helped me is I asked the therapist if it was okay to hug her at the end of a session. And she kind of went through her rules and regulations. She says, it's not really breaking anything. You're touching me, not so much her like out to get me or something. And that started to make more of a connection. And then I started making, like, one example is when I do things at a women's retreat,
Mhm.
I do an activity where they're doing a physical project along with me, and that the lesson is built into the physical object.
Oh, tell me about that. Tell me, like, give me an example. Do you have an example of one of those?
Yeah, yeah. Let me see. Last year we were talking about at the retreat, we talked about people who were supportive to us in our lifetime. And I asked them to bring pictures of people that were in their family, their friends, and even some of their relatives that were deceased.
Mhm.
And we started out with kind of a simple paper. I let them pick a paper. I always have them choose their favorite color because I want to get that self-esteem building up. And we glued on this, we had a picture of them in the middle, and then we glued their family on one side and their friends on another side, and we put their relatives who had passed up above them, and we were talking about it. We had done an activity the night before about women who'd come before us, like Rosie the Riveter and the
Mhm.
pioneer women. We put them on a cloud, so we put them as kind of looking over us. And then when we got all done, I asked there two people side by side that one of them stand up with the other's poster and just tip it slightly. And they looked as their relatives who were passed were looking down on them. They could see their family. It was one of those goosebump moments to think that many people are being a support for my life.
That
And
is amazing. It is amazing to have that visual as well as putting it together yourself. That's an amazing exercise. I love that.
and I don't lose the audience because they're literally doing it as I'm doing it. So there's nowhere else to be but in the process of putting their, I had all the supplies available and all of that. And they had their pictures. Were given notice to bring ahead of time. And it just it's one time years ago I was doing a retreat, and I automatically did it at the retreat because my arm was hurt in school. So I came up with this new way of teaching just for me. And I did it at the retreat. And one lady in the back of the room threw up her hands and said, why didn't they teach me like this in school?
Well, tell us what that is.
It's that it's that using your touch. When I couldn't write on the board, besides, I'm allergic to chalk, if that isn't enough already. I had a
A
whiteboard.
school teacher allergic to
Yeah,
chalk. That is.
what can I say? But I had the kids bring their workbooks down to the rug space where we were working. And I would start the lesson by saying touch. And all the little kids put up one finger. It's just, my catchword to get them. And I'd say, touch the girl at the top of this page. And we're going to read the words right next to her. I could see exactly who was on the task and with me as we went along. And then we
Oh,
so I it kept them engaged. They knew exactly where I was talking about, and I could look over the paper so I knew where was the lesson in there. And as we got to it, I would give them that piece of the lesson. And then when they got done, they had walked through it with me, so they knew what it was about.
that's amazing. That gives those who need the visual, those who need the hearing, and those who need the kinesthetic,
Right,
right? That's
right.
brilliant. I love that. Why
And
didn't they teach us that way?
they didn't know it, and
Yeah.
some things are different for boys and girls, and they didn't know that early on. And that's what happened. I Two women that had been really touched through my retreats, they probably had been dyslexic, but nobody knew what it looked like early on.
Right.
They had books to help boys who were dyslexic, but girls who are dyslexic, their brain is wired differently, and they slid right under the radar, and nobody knew they had a problem. But
we're
now,
going to talk about that when we get back. Right now, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and then we're going to talk about that difference between girls and boys and dyslexia. We'll be right back, you guys. This is Martha Davis Alexander. This is Courageously You. We are talking about reclaiming my voice with Jill McCarthy. And you can reach me at marthadalexander@gmail.com or at courageouslyu.com, which is COURAGEOUSLYYOUCOACHING.com. I know that is a mouthful. If I went too fast, slow down the recording, I guess. Or marthadalexander@gmail.com. And you can reach Jill at
mmccar1@twcny.rr.com or https://anchor.fm/JILL-MCCARTHY.
Beautiful. We will be right back. Stay tuned. Come back with us. Don't leave me. And we are back. This is the Going Solo Network at WGSN-DB. You can listen to us on Facebook when we live stream, or you can find us on YouTube. Make sure you check it out and take just a quick minute to hit subscribe and like. It just helps a gal out. So that would be great. This show occurs weekly at 3 p.m. Pacific or 6 p.m. Eastern, or whatever the time frame is, right? So check us out. Check us out. I am Martha Davis Alexander, and this is my guest, Jill McCarthy. And we are talking about, we left off talking about the difference between, so reclaiming my voice, but interestingly enough, we left off talking about the difference in girls and boys' brains with dyslexia, which and boys were treated, right? Boys, they had a method of treating, and girls were kind of left without it, which leaves their voice, right, unheard. So tell me more about that.
Okay, well, what they used to do for boys, they used to have these, they were called high interest, low readability books. and they'd figure a topic that boys like cowboys and Indians. And they'd have one page that it was kind of small books, so they weren't intimidating. And they'd have a picture on one page, and then on this page across to them, they would put easy words, but that were about cowboys and Indians. So if you're excited about it, you'll read it.
Yeah.
And they kind of fixed the vocabulary so that they could be good at it, and eventually they would add to their vocabulary. Well, these books, they had a whole series of them that we could use with boys. The secret between boys and girls' brains is called corpus callosum. It's the little split, the connectors between the right and left half of the brain. Boys are using either the left or the right, but not really both at the same time. And yet girls have a lot of that corpus callosum that feeds both sides of the brain. So the girls are bringing in extra clues because they're using both the mathematical and the more literature side of the brain. So they were bringing in enough clues that you didn't realize they were struggling. And
oh my gosh.
so all they really needed to do is have the same kind of books for little girls, the topics they were interested. First, they have to catch it. And
Right.
it took me many years into my career till I said, "Oh, that's what difficulty she's having. Now I know what to do to help her." And kind of as a outgrowth of that and some of my other interests, I started creating a graphic novel for grandmothers to read to little granddaughters, so
Oh,
that it helps them with that controlled vocabulary, but with pictures and exciting colors that would draw them in. So
that is exciting.
yeah,
Congratulations. So is that a published book, Jill?
it isn't published yet. That's another one that I've worked an awful long time, and I even, it's not a shoot 'em up bang bang like a lot of the boy graphic novels would be, and I'm not a good drawer, but I'm great with photography. So I walked this path every day, and I took photos throughout the years, and I was good at making art characters, and so I would take a picture of them, and then I put them in my book digitally.
Oh, that's
And
cool. That's an
yeah,
interesting way of doing it.
yeah. So, and then I can add my voice and it becomes an automated book. And I'm using my voice again.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. I love that. So, are there other secrets to reclaiming your voice the way you
Yeah.
did it?
Yeah. I remember one night I was in a church meeting. It was an evening, kind of a relaxed service. And one woman spoke up, and you'd been watching this woman and husband come for many years, and they were older, and they'd come together all that time. And she says, "I've been married to 7 different men." And of course, everybody's mouth drops open, and you say, like, "Where's this going? Where have you been hiding?" And what she said was, when they were first married, her husband uh, was in the service and was overseas, and then he came back home, and then when stayed home, he got one job, and then the family came, and all these different stages of life. And she said, in each one of those stages, her life was different. When he was overseas, she had to stand up and be the strength and to deal with whatever came up at home. When he came home, she had to take a different role because now he was taking that role. And at
Oh,
the different stages in their life, I lost you a second. In the different stages of their life, they weren't exactly the same people that they started out with those many years before. That we all grow and change, and as our kids grow, we learn things by being in the community. We there are the times we've got to step up, and there's times we have to learn how to work together. And I think It's kind of strange that I'm on a going solo when I'm somebody that's been married for a long time. I kind of scratch my head. But whether you're just coming out of a relationship and you now need to reclaim your own voice and build yourself up, or if you're still in the middle of the relationship and maybe you can learn that skill as you're going along, as you learn, if two people are dancing, if one person changes a step, the other one's either going to step on you or somebody's going to move their feet. And,
That is so true. And I know that just like the woman, the story you just told, I know that my husband has been married to any number of different women at different times in our marriage, right? I mean,
yeah,
I am not the same young woman he married 30 years ago. I'm just
no,
not. None of us are, I think. So,
no.
so I love that.
Yeah, there's pieces of our personality, but you get braver or more comfortable, or maybe one, between the two, one's going to be louder and one's going to be softer. And it's funny when sometimes you'll say, when you start hollering at them for things that you do, you switch
Yeah.
roles,
Yeah.
who's
Yeah.
doing which thing. And I think that's part of it. And I think that woman said that her marriage was different, but what made it last is they each adjusted when they got to that new level.
Yeah. Well, you have to adjust, right?
Yeah,
You
if
have
you
to adjust. And if the adjustment isn't what you want, you have to reclaim your voice and be able to say, I think we need to make some new adjustments because that's
right.
not working, right? That's not
Yeah,
going to be.
because if they hadn't made those adjustments, or if they skipped two or three of those phases, then things aren't going to jive anymore.
Yeah.
And I think that's good to know. And I think that's one thing. I do a lot of things with older ladies, and that's something we kind of need to tell our kids or our in-laws or whatever, to say, hey, adjustments happen, and that's a normal thing. It's not that anybody's doing anything wrong. That just comes with it. And
Comes with grow. I mean, we're here, we learn, we grow. Our journey changes things about us,
yeah,
and that's what we do, right? So one of the things that I just want to say, and it's really kind of an aside, so forgive me, Jill, but I love the description of the women's brain. We use both the right side and the left side, and that supports my argument that really it should be a matriarchy and women should be in charge. So thank you for giving me fuel to that fire.
for that fire.
I
Yep.
really like that. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Well, and in that right and left at the same time, that's where our intuition comes from. And that's why it
Oh,
seemed strange. Yeah, that's why it was strange to the men. They thought this in what's going on with these women creatures.
the mother's instinct or a woman's instinct, right?
Yeah,
That other sense. Oh, I love
yeah.
that. I didn't know that's where that came from.
That's where I love studying about the brain and about the different learning styles. That was one thing I really liked through my teaching career. So where I studied a lot on that.
That made you a phenomenal teacher, I'm sure, right? Knowing, understanding the difference. I never knew that was true.
Yep.
That's amazing. I love that.
Yep.
So, any thoughts or ideas that you want to leave our audience with on your story of reclaiming your voice and maybe how they can either help their kids or how they can help themselves reclaim their voice?
I think I like to use two words. I like to use patience and persistence.
Oh,
The main thing is you have to be patient with yourself. We're wonderful at being patient with everybody else, but ourselves we tend to bludgeon more than anyone else in the world, and that's a a gavel we need to put down. And
absolutely.
and persistence. I have healed so much of my body through staying with these different people that have helped me along the way, and being open for new people and new ideas as they came along, and willing to grow with it, and willing to take a risk to step out and use what I've learned and then share it with others.
I love that. So do you have a retreat coming up that you want to talk about, Miss
I
Jill?
probably won't be doing one till May. That's
May of 2023.
May of 2023. It'll probably be the third weekend in May. I have a guest speaker for the Friday night, and I do the Saturday morning. Last time we did it, we had both in. It was a hybrid retreat. We had people in person and we had people online. We had speakers from different states, participants from different states, and we had a really good time. And that was my 14th retreat. So next year will be 15. So
that is exciting.
Yeah.
That is a milestone to that is something I aspire to having, is retreats. So that is so cool.
If you're ever interested, reach out, because I also trained a gal from Florida how to do a retreat.
That's amazing. Trainer, retreater, you do it all.
Hey, jack of all trades.
Does it all. I love that. I love that. So again, Jill McCarthy, she does women's retreats. She organizes them. She also teaches them. She's a podcast host and a speaker. So what's your podcast called, and how can people find it, Joe?
It's called The Geeky Grandma with an Encouraging Nudge. It's on http://anchor.fm/Jill-MCCARTHY, or my email is mmccar, the numeral 1, at twcny.rr.com.
Fabulous. So if you guys want to check out the Geeky Grandma with an Encouraging Nudge, Jill is always fun and has so many fun just facts. I learned so much today that I didn't already know. That was so fun. You guys, this is the Going Solo Network, WGSN-DB. It's the #1 internet talk network. This has been Courageously You with Martha. I am Martha Davis Alexander, your host. And I am here every Thursday at 3 o'clock Pacific time, 5 p.m. Central Time, and 6 p.m. Eastern Time. You can also find it on the Going Solo Network Facebook page and the YouTube page. You can always find replays or whatever. So if you like this, share it with someone. Be sure to hit like and follow and help a girl out. Also, if you want to reach me, because I love hearing from my viewers, you can reach me at Martha, MarthaDalexander @gmail.com. That's MarthaDAlexander@gmail.com. Or my website, check it out, courageouslyoucoaching.com. Or here's a special thing only for viewers and people you share it with. You can text me at 805-422-6865. I am in California, just so you know. So you will know it's the United States. I wish you all a phenomenal week. And make sure, if you don't have your voice, that you reclaim your voice. Start making progress to reclaim your voice. Until next week, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.